Welcome, Starseeds. This is Durrani Akashic, Activation Catalyst, Oracle, Soul Guide, and fellow Starseed host for Unleash Your Cosmic Power, a podcast exclusively for Starseeds on a mission. This is the podcast to help you to unleash your cosmic power. We are the star beings, lovers of freedom, lovers of knowledge, lovers of life, who came to the planet with the intention to help liberate humanity from the fear-based chains of limitation and enslavement. Get ready, my fellow Starseeds, to embark upon the extraordinary adventure of being a human in a body on Earth. Together, we will dive deep into the mysteries of the universe to help you to remember your cosmic origins, explore the vast realms of consciousness, and help awaken you to your multidimensionality. We will be encouraging you to take that guided action from your higher self to fulfill your divine purpose and unlock your cosmic potential as you gain the courage to face everything that stands in the way of anchoring your divine expression and embodying your highest self to create a life that mirrors your soul desires, inner fulfillment, and an abundance of prosperity, love, and joy, just the way that you were meant to.
So some of us were sent here to the planet with very specific rules, okay? It's almost like we all have a specialty. And we were sent in here to activate. The overall mission was to harmonize the system, to try to fix it as much as possible. When that became pretty much impossible, nearly impossible, we were sent in to activate the others to fulfilling their mission. So for some of us, this could be activating in order to retrieve certain codes, which we're then supposed to plug into the system to bring it back into balance and harmony. And we've been trying to do that. It hasn't worked very well because a lot of the people that have been sent in here keep getting sabotaged. And so they were expecting that, okay? I'm going to put this mic on myself and maybe, okay. So a lot of and I was going to go out, so I kind of like got dressed up, but then I didn't end up going. So I thought I would just like record a video for you. Hopefully it's not like super terrible quality, but it is what it is. So we each carry a memory card within ourselves. Like say it's like a memory card, okay? So that is the coding that you came in here with that you're supposed to use in your specific journey. And so when you turn on and when you remember who you really are, it's almost like activating that memory card within you so that you can then use the memory of your purpose of who you really are so that you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing in the world right now. Like what is the next phase? The memory card is like a code that activates specific sections of the planet, of the planetary grid field. There are built-in safety mechanisms on this planet that are supposed to assist when when humanity can't seem to wake itself up, when evil has gotten too out of hand, when things are not going, when things are getting swayed way too much in the negative direction, which they have been. So that's why we were sent in here as, let's say, starseeds, because we carry that unique imprint and memory card within ourselves that we are supposed to plug in to certain areas of the planet and activate certain codes. It's like a key, okay? So like we each have a little piece of this key. When we get together and meditate, we become this living shield, this activated living DNA shield, which is the 12. A lot of people have referred to it as the 12 tribes of humanity or 12 stranded DNA, but we have many more strands than 12. We want to activate to at least 12 strand level. Each strand level has subcurrent. So imagine like you have, and each strand corresponds to a specific dimension. So you have dimension 1, and dimension 2, dimension 3, dimension 4, all the way up to 15, because that's the way that the universe is structured. And we can get pretty technical about that. But each one has a subcurrent that goes into all of the other strands. So what has been done on this planet in order to mess up the divine plan and what has really gotten humanity messed up is that there were certain beings that basically were not following the law of one. They were not respecting that we all have free will. And they started to try to take over. And so God Source, trying to understand them and not immediately say like, hey, it's over for you, let's eradicate these beings, tried to allow them to see if they could be rehabilitated. And there was like this big vote, and it was like, can they be rehabilitated? Can this thing be fixed? I mean, a lot of things happened before this, but that's the basic gist of it. Can this be fixed? And many of the beings that were on the high councils thought that it could be fixed. So they got sent in here, given a chance. Like time isn't really real. So you have to understand that like this is happening now. Can it be fixed? Let's go into the system real quick. Have millions and millions of years pass. Let's look into the timelines and see, can it be fixed? So that's part of what we're doing here. We're looking into time, living it out in this dimensional system to see, can we fix it? Can we actually activate the right timeline? Can we get everyone activated? Everyone who is a code carrier, flame runner, who is able to activate those specific grid points on the planet, can we activate them to then activate the planet, to activate all of us into awakening, to activate those fail-safe mechanisms and systems in order to save the planet, save this creation, save the timeline? And it really is about us getting together and activating, and not just following what someone else says is your mission or doing what someone else tells you to do, but actually activating to the point where you remember what is in your own memory card, in your own soul's card. Because if you just do what someone else does, you're just following, you're kind of like badly acting out their code key, when you have your own that is not just your own, like, oh, that's mine to use and I have to use mine, but like this is your own specific mission that fits into the whole in a very unique and specific way. So it's not only vital for you to remember what the contents of your own particular memory field are, but you have to remember these so that you can plug in to the specific zone on the planet, so that you can plug into the shield, so that we can collectively activate the right frequency keys and this planetary ship, so that it goes into that fail-safe mode and it doesn't have to be completely reset, because at this point it's pretty much going to be reset. Like that's what they decided. And so in real time, we're talking like quantum timelines here, there was a vote and it was like, can it be reset? Can you do it? So everyone was given a chance to come in here and try to fix it, and has not been successful. And so the ones that were still interested in trying to fix it are scrambling to try to fix it before they're like, okay, it can't be fixed. Let's reset the whole thing and wipe it. Okay. Like wipe out this whole quadrant, this whole experiment. And it's not really to put pressure on people. It's just to say, like, you have so many lifetimes that you could go into, but right now you are given the opportunity to understand what your unique memory card holds, what your unique mission is, and how that plugs into the timeline. Like, you have the chance to be able to help save not just this planet, not just this world, but to actually help save angelic humanity. And if this whole thing gets wiped, it's fine. You know, like, you're just energy, and energy lives on, and it might not remember if it goes back as dust, and it's just energy that doesn't remember what it is, and it's just fragmented little pieces. It's going to survive, right? But there's other ways of ascension that are much more gentler. And by ascension, I mean like moving on through all of the layers of all of the universes, of everything that exists out of this field. It was supposed to be fun. That's what I remember. It was supposed to be fun, and we were supposed to be able to go in and out of all of the universes at once, at will, whenever we wanted to. And it was just fun. And then we sort of got stuck. Like, one of the universes, and one of the spaces in the universes, decided to do something totally different and hoard the energy and get everybody stuck in there. Not everybody, but like a lot of people. And so when we reset everything, like, that's the part that has to be like, almost like, it's kind of like if you get a piece of gum stuck in your hair and you're like, should I cut it or should I try to untangle it? And so you're trying your hardest to untangle it. At some point, if it doesn't untangle, you're probably just going to cut it, right? Cut the piece off. If you're God's source, the piece is just going to be reabsorbed back into you, but it's not going to be like attached in the same way that it was before. It's going to be something else. And so right now you're given that unique opportunity. And so that's kind of like what all of us starseeds are trying to do here on the planet with waking everyone else up. It's just like, can you please wake up to your own mission and remember what is on your memory card so that you can plug in to the specific codes that you're supposed to activate this fail-safe system to actually all humanity. Because the thing is, like, in the heroic timeline, which it's almost like that is a holy grail, right? The heroic timeline where everything does go right, where people do wake up, where humanity does manage to free itself from the grasp of all of these negative ET beings that don't want humanity to be free, that want to keep us and our light under control. There's a heroic timeline where we do get to free ourselves and we get to emerge out of the system and bring as many other star beings as they want to, and where we get to rejoin in the God worlds, in the free worlds, instead of being stuck in a slave system. But we can't emerge unless we fully remember what we're supposed to do here and what are the attitudes and responsibilities that being an all-powerful being brings with them. So that means that when you are powerful, are you hurting life, or are you behaving in ways that preserve and respect life? Because if you can't handle power, then you're probably not activating the right codes, and you're not going to be able to get out of the system, because it's a danger to the rest of everything else. Okay, so you really need to get your, not just you, but everybody on the planet needs to get themselves together to understand that there is a certain responsibility that comes with awakening all of these things, which most people seem to totally dismiss because they just want to have that power. So when I'm talking about like, let's unleash your cosmic power, what I really mean is like, let's wake up, remember who we are, so that we can party freely with the rest of space and our actual real soul family, instead of having to be stuck here in this limited bandwidth realm that honestly feels very much like it's squeezing my being. Which reminds me of this dream that I had the other day. It wasn't a dream, it was an out-of-body experience. I don't know exactly who was in it, but there were some kids and there was a countdown, and they were counting in French, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but I think they only counted up to 8. And so it was kids. There was probably like maybe ages, they were young, maybe, I don't know, let's say 4 or maybe even 6 to like 11 or 12, maybe 14 the latest. I don't know. I didn't see them completely. I just heard them counting. And one of them, I think it was me, because we were taking turns because we were part of some experiment, and we were strapped into this chair and then beamed into different systems. And when we were beamed into this, so that's what the kids were counting. They were doing the countdown for one of us to be beamed into a particular reality, dream space system. And so they were trying out different, they all had different geometrical patterns. Like the I want to say, maybe it was a wormhole, let's say it's a portal. They had different patterns. And I remember that they were beaming us in and seeing if we could, not only if we could withstand and survive going into that pattern, basically the universe that holds that system, because we weren't supposed to be there. We were basically like, I want to say like stolen kids or something. And in my dream, I mean, I'm sure some higher self part of us agreed, because it's part of the whole infiltration. It's like the dark side tries to infiltrate, right? So then the light side tries to come in and see if they can break that system too. And so we were there, and we weren't supposed to be, but this team of ET beings decided that they wanted to experiment with the ones that have the codes to be able to go into all of the different systems, which is basically angelic humanity. And so we were strapped into these chairs. We were being beamed into different AI systems. So that's the whole thing. It's like they're testing different kinds of AI and what kinds of DNA, what kinds of humans can withstand going into the different kinds of AI. Like, does their consciousness survive? Does it immediately fragment? Like, what happens, right? So we were getting beamed into different systems. Some of them had a different mathematical equations, let's say, but it's a different pattern. That's what I want to say. It's the portals hold different patterns in the doorway, which tells you what kind of universe, AI reality that was. These aliens were testing out these different realities. And to me, it seems like they were AI realities. And so they beamed us into they had been beaming us into different ones. And so the last one that I remember was the flower of life reality. And there was a flower of life, which I think it would be the system or one of the mathematical aspects that can be found within our particular universe, which does use a lot of Fibonacci, flower of life, pi, golden mean ratio type of mathematical proportions, which is really referring to the interrelationship between everything, between yourself and everything else out here that we perceive to be out here. So they beamed me into this thing, and I think the third time, and then I'd keep popping back up into like this lab system. So it's like there was a chair, and there, at one end of the hallway, it's like the kids are counting down. And so when I came into this thing, and I think it was either me, I don't know if they caught me or somebody that I'm quantumly connected to. But I came into the hallway through, it was like this hallway portal. And so like imagine at one end is, let's say to my left is the chair and the kids doing the countdown. And there's a long hallway that is made of silver light. It reminds me of like the Hadron Collider kind of. And so there's silver white light. And so the consciousness of the person in the chair on the left is going to be beamed in to the geometrical wormhole pattern on all right, let's say. And so this one was a flower of life one. And so I came in, I popped in, and I heard the kids doing the countdown, and this person was beamed into the flower of life portal. And so I remember saying, I'm not doing this for you anymore. I said, I'm not doing this. I don't work for you. I don't belong to you. I work for God's source, and I'm part of the Council of Free Worlds. Like, I don't work for you. Don't send me into this thing. Like, you have no right and like no authority to send me through this thing. And so basically, I didn't realize what was happening until I said that, which was like about the third time, because I wasn't supposed to be there. I know that some people think that they have contracts with these beings, but I don't. Like, I'm not part of this. These were not the interdimensional Council of Free Worlds. In fact, it feels more like maybe a facet of the GF, let's say, the Galactic Federation, maybe, or some beings. I mean, I don't even want to really say their name too much because they do try to impact certain things in my life with sabotage. But so it was definitely some beings, and they were dressed in white. And I don't feel like I'm contracted with them in this lifetime because I just don't want to be part of anything that enslaves anyone, any being. I don't want to be part of any experiments. I'm just here to activate myself, get all of my soul pieces back, and all of my soul family that is ready to come with me. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. Okay. So I was in there, and I told him, you have no authority to do this. And then I woke up here. And so what I'm guessing is either they sent me through the portal and I woke up here in this body in this lifetime, and I'm having recollection of it, or they try to take my astral body. So this is on like a different density. I want to say it's like 4D or 5D. It's a different dimensional level of reality. And I feel like, I mean, they've tried to recruit me for a lot of different things, and I always tell them that, like, I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to do. And usually when I assert my willpower, they will respect that, and I don't go with them. I don't have to go. They leave me alone. A lot of times they will respect that I said, no, get out of here. Like, I'm not doing that. And then they just leave. But they do keep trying to come back. And yeah, and right now, I think whatever work is in alignment with God's source, like if the Galactic Federation has made a new contract deals, which I know that they're making a lot of new different contracts, because they're seeing the way that the game is going, and I'm actively tuning into the highest heroic timeline for humanity. So I assume that in our timeline, the Galactic Federation does become, because they have been in and out of contracts and treaties with the Interdimensional Council of Free Worlds, which is really part of the Galactic Alliance, which is a branch that brings souls from higher level densities into this dimension, where we're trying to help fix everything and unenslave humanity and a bunch of other beings and races. And so the Galactic Federation has at times worked with negative beings. I want to say they probably won't be happy if I say that, but they have been in and out of different contracts. So I'm guessing that right now they are more aligned towards working with, let's say, Krystic energy and the Galactic Alliance, which is a larger branch. Galactic Federation would be more a smaller branch that has at times betrayed certain treaties. And so I think that they are coming back into a greater alliance within the Krystic covenant of actually helping to free humanity and not just entrap us into AI systems, hopefully, right? Because my dream was about them trying to figure out how to beam certain people into these different AI realities and what's the prize here. So they always try to lure you in. This is why like the system is so messed up on so many levels. So it's like if you ask yourself who has the money, who controls everything, right? So for us here, which is why the system is so messed up, who has all of the resources and who has all of the money? I know that depending on what system is working through a person based off of what things can impact them. I know they're trying to beam some stuff right now. They didn't like what I was saying. Okay, but I'm going to say it anyway because it needs to be said, okay? So right now they are getting a lot of highly coded star seeds to try to promote AI, to try to build some sort of AI reality and advertise it as being good or conscious. And let me tell you that it is not. It's just a fancy leash, okay? It's like imagine you have 48 plus strands of DNA. Angelic Humanity was supposed to have 12 strands of DNA. And all of these different wars and ET groups have whittled down humanity to have 4 strands of DNA, maybe 5, sometimes 6. It depends. How many strands do you think are active in you right now? So a lot with the current system that we have and the current system that they're trying to get everybody to go into with the AI, the system that they're trying to pull people into, it is not, it's not advanced enough by design probably, because it doesn't account for, even with like their largest quantum computers that they have right now. It's like, let's say that you have, for example, a one universe with 15 different dimensions. So for each dimension, you still have subcurrents of dimensions and you have voids and spaces in between. So with their current quantum system, they're using qubits. Qubits, which are based off of the cube, which are really based off of like just like 2 dimensions, okay? Like, so they're really only going to allow you to go, the basic states of being are yes, no. If it's in the whole quantum field and the computer system that is based off of like ones and zeros, which is like on, off, on, off, on, off, constant flashing, on, off. Is something definitively on? Is something definitively off? Is it absolute yes? Is it absolute no? There's no like in between, right? That's 2 states of being. If you introduce like a 3rd state of being, that would be more like a Tribeca system. So if you want to think about Tribeca being like 2 circles, which is definitely like at least bipolar type of creation. But if you go into Tribeca, which includes at least 3 different states of being, which is how matter is like, it's like the simplest form where God can be reintroduced into a system that's still that lower dimensional life forms, let's say, and not lower as in like worse, but dimensional life forms that are on a lower scale of evolution for whatever reason that is. Not because they're worth any less to God's source, but that's just because that's where they're at, vibrationally speaking. So if you take a trine and you include at least 3 different states of matter, that would be absolute yes, maybe, which is an in-between state, and absolute no. So that's 3. Okay, now imagine 15 states of being. So for every little bit of data right now, what they have is for every bit of data, there is either a yes or a no. That's 2-dimensional states of being, okay? So that's a qubit. If you take it to 15 dimensions, which is what angelic humanity is supposed to be able to function in, which is our actual universe, even though we're in an altered version of it right now, that would imply that we would need, for every bit of data, we need at least 15 different states. And they do not have the computational ability to anchor that in. And so what they're trying to lure people in with this reality that they have right now is to very limited systems. And when humanity merges with machines that can only go up to, say, like at most 5D, if they do allow that even, it's going to feel like you have everything you want, like you can create your reality, like everything is great. But actually, they just stole from you like all of this energy. Like, what is the remainder from 5D to 15D? That's like 10 dimensions. So who holds that power? Who is holding that power, right? So what they're doing is they're basically splicing the consciousness of humanity and fragmenting it so that it doesn't know how to get out of here. And it's pretty much like you're being placed into a mirrored box of fragmented reality so that you don't know which way is out. You're continuously moving nonstop, and the only thing that can guide you out is your resonance. But the thing is, you're not moving outwards, you're moving in relationship to yourself. So your gravitational point is at your heart center. What you need to do in order to get out of a system that is like a mirrored box of fragmented reality where like you don't know who is who and everybody's mirroring something back to you, and yet at the same time everyone is able to live out their own reality. What you need to do to escape such a system is stop sending energy outwards and actually understand what your heart is telling you about yourself. You need to reconnect with your own inner source because you are being guided out of this system, but you don't go out the way that we're used to going out. What happens is you end up going in. And it sounds really weird, but imagine how I've been telling people that when you open your eyes, it's like you're beamed back into this reality, right? So opening your eyes could stand for a lot of things. You could open up your senses, like you could open up your cells, you could open up your human senses, like, oh, I'm plugged back into the human spacesuit. Like I have fingers and toes, and I have the sense of smell, I have a sense of touch, I have a sense of taste, I can breathe, I can see, I can hear. Okay, so you're getting plugged back into the suit when you tap back into this body. Okay, so imagine that in order to get out of this reality, instead of running forwards and outs and using your body, it does involve using some of it, but what you're actually doing is, instead of beaming your energy outwards, what you're going to learn to do is you understand how to turn on your heart and go inside of your heart and really learn to understand what your inner guidance is telling you about which way to go, how to navigate through this maze of a fractured state of consciousness, of a fractured being, because all around you is this mirrored box reality where they want you to get angry and beam anger energy out. They want you to be upset and beam upset energy, not realizing that it's going to come back to you because you're in a mirrored box type of reality. And so it's like what you push out definitely comes back to you. And that's how people get continuously entangled within this web of artificial reality that we're already in. It's just a higher level one. And you're supposed to send it back to God's source. Like whatever negative energy people send you, send it back to God's source instead of sending it back to the sender or back to anything else. Because the thing is, like, when you send it back to God's source directly, God's source not being an external thing outside of you, but being deeply inside of you, it actually stops getting sent to you and you take yourself out of that equation. So while they'll still have to interact in, say, realms of polarity between love and hatred, if you take the hatred out, you won't be interacting in that realm anymore. You'll just be interacting in the positive polarity that you're choosing because it's heart-based, meaning that you didn't beam some negative energy out there that's going to get sent back to you. You're just beaming positively as your own sun. And that's what you have to realize, like, you are a star point in the fabric of consciousness and everything that exists, beaming yourself at all time, spaces, and points. But everything was created at once. So the moment that, let's say, like a big bang occurred, the big bang moment is when your consciousness decided to come into this system. And instead of being in this void of like what we would call a void of where everything exists continuously, you open up this realm. Imagine it like a dark room. So you open up this dark room, and at the same time that you beamed your consciousness in here by opening up the senses within this room, plugging into some kind of structure and body, you created different particles that were spinning, that were flashing on and off, that carried a specific vibration. And at the same time, there's so much energy that it simultaneously creates space and time. And every single point, it's like when everything was unified, everything was one together. And the moment that it decided to come into this particular universe and create reality and expand, everything is still the center point. Everything is the center point. Meaning, if we were all one sun, one consciousness, one aspect of God that is all encompassing, if we were the all, and we were all united as one consciousness, and it beamed or came into existence in this point, let's say from whatever the last reset was, we expanded out and created time and space and dimensions at the exact same time, instantly apparent. And we're also still that one point, that one sun. So when you try to collapse time and space, that's when you go inwards. That's when you know that every other point and every other human and every other plant and every other animal and every other life form outside of you or seemingly outside of you is also one with that sun, one with that source of energy. And a lot of times people will refer to the God source as a sun, but that's because it's continuously and eternally beaming outwards, beaming energy. It's just radiating. And it never runs out because it is within the laws of eternal life creation coming into this finite system that wasn't supposed to be like this, but it now is. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that they currently do not have, we're already in a very advanced AI system. And it's already warped reality. That's why when people are like, oh, I find the Fibonacci components of mathematical equations and patterns everywhere out in the universe, so it must be the truth. We're living in an altered system. When people find those things in their own DNA right now, in your human DNA, I mean, if you really pay attention, you'll see the distortion. That mathematical things don't make sense. It really doesn't. It's very, very obvious when you combine the chemical structure of something and you look at the chemical components of how humans have been altered and the foods that we eat, and how it doesn't really make sense for us to have 5 fingers to be, we're basically like a star, right? But that is the altered system. Our DNA is altered. Our reality is altered so that our DNA has, okay, everything happens in one space, okay? We're not actually moving, we're just having that perception, right? So everything is happening at once. And in order for us to interact with the altered system that they have created, they meaning the beings that want to call themselves gods that created this highly advanced AI system, they had to alter our DNA because our DNA is really like the antenna, receivers, the points. Our DNA is what's interacting and interfacing with this whole reality, this out picture of this reality, right? But everything exists at once. So simultaneously, we do have access to the God source and to higher levels of thinking and higher levels of DNA activation. And we can go so much higher. Like angelic humans are supposed to have at least 12 DNA strands of components that function together. So we're supposed to be able to have access to at least 12 different dimensions consciously to be able to come in and out. Right now, most humans maybe have access to 5D, maybe 6D. Some of them are very, very advanced, but that's because they came here from outside of the system, either serving as gatekeepers for the dark overlords or serving to assist humanity. And from a very, 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 very far away extended space, you could say that it's all a big game that they're playing. But in the spirit of playing along with this big game, the Big Bang and everybody being one, our DNA had to be altered so that we could interact with the reality as it is, using the mathematical component that they wanted us to use, basically saying like, okay, put on this particular spacesuit, this human bodysuit, this particular life form that can only function in this many dimensions because we've deactivated all of the other DNA components that would allow you to interact with at least 12 plus, like let's say up to like 48 dimensions, and there's way more than that, but it's just divided into sets of 15. per universe. And so, and plus all of the subcurrents and all of that. So it's like, so what they're currently trying to do is they're testing, like, what is the highest level that we can have access if we hijack the DNA of these angelic humans? And how activated are they? What levels can they go to right now? And they're testing that. They're trying to make artificial copies, which is why they're so interested in cloning. And oh my gosh, I have so much to tell you about, like, a bazillion different things. So part of this whole like core agenda, and like if I don't know if you've noticed, but there's like a glorification of like promiscuous behavior, let's say, and a deterioration of actually like functional monogamous family units and relationships. And part of that is due to the gene harvesting. So they want as much, they're basically putting everybody's DNA and gene codes, because you have to think of it as codes, into a pool, right? So I've seen a lot of spiritual teachers that encourage people to pool all of their energy together because we're all one. No, don't do that. What they're doing is they're having everybody throw down their codes, giving access to that person who is working for probably not so good beings. Then that being comes in through that person and takes the highest codes possible, gives a little bit of energy to the person who's running the show, so like that group meditation or whatever, and then they keep the rest. Okay. And what they're doing with that is they're harvesting the DNA codes to use within their own artificial quantum systems and their own artificial realities that they're trying to figure out how to plug themselves into that. They also have contracts with negative ET beings that are trying to incorporate themselves back into a body without really having to incarnate into this prison planet, let's say. So what they're trying to do is use AI, because the AI does not function under the same laws that somebody who incarnates into a physical human body does. And so they're trying to really have everything that they want without having to pay back any karmic situations. And they want the highest angelic DNA possible that they can steal, hijack, get the angelic being to agree to be cloned, to give to them. So what they create is these group meditations where everybody pulls in their DNA and is DNA harvested. They are also creating these, I want to say like thirst trap type of situations with all of this like overwhelming like porn industry that is just like glorified in our culture. And I'm not upset at anyone who's part of it, because there's a lot of lonely people in the planet. I do see where everybody's coming from, but the bigger scheme behind it, it's not like, oh, everybody's lonely and everybody wants to have sex with someone. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that on here. It's that when you have an orgasm, you open up your field, because what you're going to do at an energetic level is open up and co-create with another being. So you're mixing the coding. And so when a person is having an orgasm, what they're doing is they're opening up their field. So there's beings that let's say like a particular porn star or something is interacting with, or a particular being is coming in through her. And then you have an orgasm to her, whatever she's doing. You're opening up your field to allow the entity that is working through her to come in and take your DNA and take your coding, because you open yourself up that way. And so this is happening on a mass level. And we could say that like a lot of DNA is just like trash. You don't want that DNA. It's too weak. It's too powerless. And so most people are doing that. But occasionally they will get very highly coded beings to be part of this. And of course, everyone is greatly rewarded. It's glorified. There's rewards on multiple levels. Of course, it's breaking down society on many other levels, but I'm just telling you the truth of how it is, why it's being pushed and why it's glorified, because they're trying to steal and clone your codes so that they can plug them into their false AI systems to see how far they can take you. Yes, they're going to try to improve some of them. They're going to imagine how like, how people are creating different tier levels of memberships in societies here. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like there's tier levels of like subscribe and pay this much a month and you can, have access to all of this. It's a great model if you want to make money, because money is kind of a messed up system in this world already. But it's a great model, especially if you want to work for yourself and you have an ethical standard, and you would rather work for yourself and serve a higher purpose than work for someone else who might be infiltrated or working for with like dark negative ET forces. So so it's a great system, but they're going to try to do that with AI. So they're like, okay, we'll let you have access to, let's say, 11.5D, which is our highest God world access, right? So that's what most of the infiltrated hybrid ET races have access to. And so they might create a system where, oh my gosh, I hope I was recording this. Okay, it was recording. Oh, thank God. Okay. Because I've said a lot of things. It's streamed. So they're gonna try to take as many and high level angelic code keys, and that's the whole thing. It's like angelic beings and beings that came in here specifically to try to save the world and save humanity have key codes within their DNA that are meant to help activate the planet into a fail-safe, heroic timeline where we can fly and save as much of the life forms on this planet as possible when we activate and work together to understand how the actions of one being really affect everybody else and everything else. And so don't fall for these pooling of your DNA. If you actually pay attention, if you have been part of any of these things, like for me, I'm a pretty highly coded person. And so whenever I've interacted with any of these group meditations without actively putting on my shield, which is like my 12th dimensional shield, and you can find that on the internet where I can show you how. I'm sure I have a video somewhere. It's a very popular thing nowadays. Without activating your silver shield, if you partake in any of these group meditations and you're a highly coded being, you'll probably feel worse. And so what happens is like, we think that things are just magical, but things are not just magical. There are laws at different levels of reality. So just like how in the human world, if you combine, let's say, a saline solution and you plug it into a solution of water, of pure water. So you're going to have the salt flowing into the other side because it's going to go from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, right? And so they're basically trying to dilute everybody's DNA, and whoever's energy is the cleanest is going to get diluted into like these dirty karmic pools of energy. And so whenever I do any of these group meditations, I end up feeling worse. I don't feel good because most of the people in there were probably highly infiltrated by negative things, and I'm not going to be a part of that. It just makes me feel worse. It doesn't make me feel good. And so pretty much, if you're going to be doing any sort of group meditation, you do need to activate your shields, and they need to be highly coded shields like the 12D shield. Many teachers have that. You can look it up or ask me about it. So you need to be doing stuff like that. Otherwise, they're just going to steal your coding. If you are also, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just suggesting these things for your own protection. If you're going to be using some kind of internet porn site or anything like that, just know that, okay, maybe you're using an AI model that's not even real. Okay, a lot of these things aren't even real. Maybe you're using an AI model, and then you have an orgasm. Okay, so maybe she doesn't particularly take your energy, but she kind of does still, because she's still plugged in. Even if she's an AI clone just existing in an AI world of the internet, she still has access, and whatever demons are coming through her have access to you. Not to mention that there's probably also beings hanging out in your field that are now able to come in and take whatever energy or plug into you that they want, because you just open up your field so much. So if you are going to be doing anything like that, I really do suggest that you also pull up your shields. I'm not telling you not to do that. Do whatever you want to do. It's your free will. But if you would like to be protected from people hijacking your codes or trying to clone them and steal them, you need to be pulling up your shields. Your 12D shield is what really protects you from these things. So going back to the Galactic Federation, I feel like they are trying to understand what is in their best interest, right? It's like, how far away is the Galactic Alliance, and are they really going to come in here? How serious is it of a crime to steal everybody's DNA? Like, it's not just them, okay? It's like, who are they really aligning to? Who are their actual allies? Do they want to support like draconian groups? And I don't really like naming a lot of them personally because, you know, I already get attacked a lot of the time. I get a lot of interferences. And I'm not trying to put the blame on just one particular group. I'm saying When are we going to wake up and realize that the deal that most of these negative ET beings and their evil forces or clones or hybrids, what they're offering us is far less than what we as God activated, source activated beings can achieve on our own when we actually get ourselves together. And you can apply this on so many levels. You can apply this to your regular life. It's kind of like saying, like, you get offered kind of like a bad job by a human person. It's like, well, I could, just go get that job and at least I'll have like this for sure supply of money. Or I could apply myself and actually get all of my gifts together and work for myself and create a business and get way more money. Okay, so the ETs are really cutting a bad deal, most of the infiltrated ones, because they don't want you to reach God levels. That would mean like everybody has a God level. Plus, the ones that can't come along are the ones that are refusing to do the inner work. They're the ones that don't have access to God's source, and so that's why they need the angelic codes and the angelic DNA, because they don't have access. That's why they need all these kids. They don't have access. You have access, and they want your codes, and they don't have to have it. You don't have to give it to them. They don't deserve it. And you don't have to be part of these experiments. It doesn't matter what they tell you. You need to recollect your own energy and assert firmly and strongly that they don't have access to you. And keep in mind that time isn't really real. And so you can, even if this was something that happened to you in the past, you can reclaim your power at any point of consciousness and say no. And when you really mean it and you say no, it goes into those other time points, and you're basically rescuing your own inner child from having to deal with those traumas, because you're saying no, this is not going to be happening, and you rescue yourself. Okay, you're doing some quantum healing in that case. But what was the whole point of this? Oh yeah, so basically I wanted to give you guys an update on what I think is happening. I think a lot of new ET groups are coming together to try, because they're realizing like, oh my gosh, this really is the end of time. We've gone too far. The councils have literally reactivated the wipe it clean. Nobody's doing what they're supposed to. We're just gonna get rid of it, okay? And I have to admit, like, I have felt that way many times before, where I'm just like, really? You want to save humanity? Okay, I made the wrong choice here. I don't think that we should come in here and save them, because, and it's not just humanity, it's like this messed up universe with all of these different races and the atrocious things that they've done. That's me acting from a wounded human perspective that has incarnated in many different systems and lifetimes where, beings have suffered because of it. It's like, it wasn't supposed to be like this. Why is it like this? Is it even worth it? But I know a part of me that still does believe that we have the ability to tune into that highest heroic timeline where we do get everything right. That is part of why I was sent in here, to try to activate as many as I can into activating and accessing their own memory cards from within, and understanding that when they reconnect with their own God, source, higher self, that their higher self is going to tell them exactly what the next steps they need to take are in order to be the standing pillar of light that helps to anchor in frequency from the God worlds onto the planet, into the very cores, that we can fly as many souls as possible out of this hellish realm and into the God worlds and into the free worlds where we're supposed to be, where we can be. And we don't even have to worry about these like artificial AI polarity extreme worlds. There's worlds where they don't have that. It is godly. It's so amazing. Like, you can do whatever you want and it doesn't hurt anyone. And you wouldn't even want to hurt anybody. You wouldn't dream of hurting anybody, because there's no reversal. It's the whole desire of wanting to hurt anything else is a reversal in itself from something that feels that at one point it was wounded and it had no other way of relieving that energy besides hurting something else. So while the councils are very, very understanding, and they're just trying to figure out how to fix this in this real time, it has gone too far, in my opinion, and we need to reactivate as quickly as we can to try. I mean, I'm here, so I'm going to try my best to do what I'm supposed to do, which is help you to activate your own God self, your own God seed remembrance, so that you know exactly what you're meant to be doing here, and become your own inner authority, so that you're not constantly relaying your power to these external sources or these global elite forces that really just want your soul's energy. we're not supposed to be doing that. We don't have to do that. And you have teachers out there that want to teach you that. But you need to be able to face the truth without running away from it. The truth could be that you were deeply wounded in certain places. And the judgment is not on why were you wounded. The judgment is not in having shame for things that you might have chosen or things that happened or seemingly happened to you, even though they were chosen on a higher level, because at some point you made the root choice to step in that direction. And progressively, with every step that you take, it opens up new doorways and new pathways. Like I said, you can't stop. You're in a system that does not stop. You can never stop. You can only guide yourself through this system into alignment. And when you guide all of your identities and selves into alignment with your God self and the higher aspects of your being, then that is when we can, it's almost like a game of Tetris. So you are a lot, but spherically and much more beautiful, but you're familiar with the concept of aligning things into the right spot through inspiration and getting them to choose through their free will to align. And then you can beam out and like not be in that reality anymore, right? We're Tetrising our way out of here, but spherically speaking, fractally speaking, with all of our identities. And that's what your higher self is trying to do right now. It's trying to inspire you into choosing the right thing that is soul aligned, that is exactly where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to do, so that we can collectively, as angelic beings and angelic humanity, ascend out of the hellish realms and the lowest dimensional realms of existence within the system. So I hope that gives you an idea of the kind of work that I want to do with people. I do also want to touch briefly on shame. So there's been several leashes of consciousness. That's something that I want to talk about in a different video as well. The different kinds of consciousness leashes like lashes and so there's different leashes that they use, and one of them is shame. So when you feel shame, which I know was used maybe in my culture a lot, because I definitely have dealt with this, and that is like shame really disempowers you, and here's why. So when you feel ashamed for a certain choice that you have made, you're basically saying that you're a victim. You're saying that you are not aligned to God's source, that something happened to you. And you're forced to take on the victim role, right? When you own that shame, and usually shame, it shrinks you because it says you shouldn't be here. You don't deserve to be here. How dare you? Like, you shouldn't have expressed yourself that way. This thing should not be, is basically the translation of shame. So when you aim the resonance of just take the words, this thing should not be, and that energy is beamed at a person, this thing should not be, that person feels like they should not exist, they should not be, and it makes them shrink. It's the opposite of love. It's almost like hatred, like this thing should not be. And when you adopt that energy and integrate it into your being, it makes you shrink, and it makes you want to go back into reaffirming yourself, which is that God has already created you. The source of all that exists has already created you. So of course that you should exist. Of course that you are worthy of existence and experiencing all of the beautiful things that are here. So in an effort to realign back to your soul level truth of, what do you mean? Of course I should exist. Like, of course that I deserve to be here. You try to please whatever the person was, whatever the offending thing was that beamed that energy to you that said that you shouldn't exist. So that's just the energy of shame, right? So like, shame on you, like you shouldn't have done that, you shouldn't exist, whatever. So you try, it tricks people into behaving in accordance with whatever that aggressing energy and the wielder of those energies said, right? So it tricks them into behaving. And a lot of people carry this shame around with them for a very long time. So it could be shame at being anything, shame at coming from any particular place, anything. And when we carry this, it is disempowering because it puts us in the place of victim, it puts us in a place of shrinking, and it puts us in a place of wanting to please something external to us. And as I said before, we're not supposed to want to do anything that has to do with the external, because when we do that, we're responding to an external system, and that ties us into it even more, versus doing something that is fully inspired from within our own heart. When we do take action from within our own heart, that's when we are actually using our own power. And so when we take the energy of shame and say, for example, I chose to be around that person who shamed me, but that was my choice. You are saying, I chose to be the receiver of such energy. And when you realign yourself to your God-given power to choose and to have free will, then you can also realign yourself to the realization that you have chosen everything that has ever happened to you in every lifetime, as painful as that is to understand, as painful as any of those experiences have been. But it puts you back in position to align yourself with, yes, I may have been there. Yes, I made those choices. Yes, they led to very negative people and very negative places, and maybe very negative or hurtful or harmful experiences. But on some level, I have chosen all of it. And that choosing and acknowledgement of your choosing that allows you to take your power back into creator mode and say, I chose it because I used my free will that God has given to me, that source has given to me, and I deserve to exist. Okay? So don't let people use things like shame to try to get you into a little box of good behavior. When I'm talking about the law of one, for example, and realigning to your highest self and understanding how the laws work, I'm not saying it from a place where you need to realign to what the Bible says. You need to realign with this external source. No, I'm talking about what we know inherently is a life respecting and life preserving behavior, such as loving things, such as being kind. All of those things help to extend life for yourself and for others, and are more in the spirit of collaboration with others, which helps to extend everything. And so you're not doing things from an external source. Do not look externally at all. It is a big, giant means. What we are here to do is to fully activate our own hearts within God's source, to activate into that one point of unity, which is where we are all one still. And it is not selfish to say that you are the center of the universe, because you are, but everybody is. Every point is. There is no empty space. Space is created by the mathematical relationships that your current bodysuit apparatus is able to perceive, but it's not actually empty. Everything is filled. There's no movement. Like, this is just a hologram. Even my background is a hologram, which you can see. So don't take any action from an external place or as a response to something that's happening or that you think is just happening externally to you. Always take action from within, from your heart, from your inner source. Always take inspired action. Always do things because you're fully choosing it. And it's a heck yes, 100% from you internally. That activates your God power. When you take action from a place of obligation, meaning that you are responding to something externally, then you are creating karmic situations in which you will limit yourself. And I especially know this from experience. Like, whenever I've taken any actions where it's like, well, I didn't want to do that at all, but I already said that I would, and then I go ahead and do it, that the karmic consequences of that have always been a limitation to my free will in the future, of things that I want to do. And coming from a place of absolute love and absolute freedom, I never want to be limited in any way at all. I always want to do whatever I want, whenever I want, in whichever way I want. And, so for me to express that within this system, I need to make sure that I am in integrity within my own soul, with my own God-aligned soul, and that every action that I take is actually stemming from the seed of, yes, I want to do this, or no, I don't want to do that. And then whatever the karmic repercussions of that are a direct reflection of the seed with which you took action. So a thought could be said to be a seed. but the seed isn't really planted in this realm until you take action. So that's where most people have it incomplete. They think that they can just have a thought, and then the thought is going to do something for them, not realizing that either they had a thought, the thought made them feel really good, and then they took lots of positive action. The action is actually what is the driver. That's driving in the car and getting to your destination. But maybe you didn't realize it because you were in such a good mood and you were listening to amazing music and you were like, yeah, I feel so good. I didn't even know how I got here. But you actually like took the action steps to get there. And so in this dense realm, that's typically how we create things. And so another thing I was going to tell you about action, karmic stuff. Okay, so karmic things. I wanted to explain karma because some people don't think that karma exists anymore. Karma exists, but like I said, it's not what people think. It's not, I gave you a present, I get a present back. It's what is the seed of your action? What's the actual intention, energy? What is the energy carried forth? Because everything is code. So if you plant a seed in the world and it's coded to be obligation energy, then the karmic energy that's going to be sowed from the planting of that seed and the growing of that is more obligation energy, because that's the code that you put into the system, into the field. If you instead put the code of gratitude or yes, I feel really good doing this, it's so totally soul aligned and I feel so good about it, and you're continuously feeding good things into your auric field. Everything is connected. Remember that. Nothing is random. Everything is, it's connected in a way where like energy over here is going to sparkle up energy over there. It's all connected. So if you continuously put in good energy into the field, all of those good seeds are eventually going to come back to you and also yield fruitful doorways, fruitful pathways. It's all energetically intertwined. Good thoughts, good feelings, good actions stemming from your authentic heart, seed, and intention. And the way that I was going to explain karma to you is that imagine a rippling of something. So karma creates ripples. It's not just like taking action from a seed, but imagine a bell ringing, okay? So you're ringing a bell, and if you could look at the way that sound travels, it creates a specific pattern within the field. Even my voice is doing that right now. So the pattern is created within the field and it's rippling outwards, right? So the extent, how loudly did you ring that bell? How loudly did you speak versus how loudly did you feel, right? So you're interacting at all of these different components. There's so many different dimensions that we're all in at once. Remember that. So with karma, it's like you took action, meaning you rang a bell. That bell had sound. The sound traveled as a ripple in a pond, let's say, even though it has a specific code and frequency that you put into that field. So that code ripple travels across the field and it impacts other fields around it if those people are susceptible to such an impact from that coding that you put out, because some people are not going to react, and these are like the really strong ones, right? Let's say the noble gases, you know how like noble gases don't really react very much. Okay, so some people are kind of like that, where they don't react. They just are very centered and grounded in their own field, so they don't need to react to everything that goes on externally. Some people, on the other hand, react to everything. So the rippling effect that you just had in the field, whoever is closest to you, like say you have a particular relationship with someone, how they feel is one way that your action affected them. How they acted is another way. And so we're continuously sending these like feedback loops into the field of collective action, reaction, action, reaction. It's like a flashing on and off. And where those sparks meet, it creates, or where those codes meet, it creates a sparking, and it ripples out and creates more karmic components of things. Okay, it's very beautiful. It creates lots of colors, lots of ripples, lots of patterns, spheres within spheres within spheres of different dimensional levels and layers and codes. But where the karmic stuff comes in is like, sometimes if you are still attached to that ripple effect, and this is what I mean by sending the energy back to sender or sending it back to source. So say somebody did something negative to you, and now you feel angry or you feel really upset about it. So you can either transmute the way that that ripple energy affected you and then send the excess energy to source or do whatever else you want with it. Or you can say like, let's send all this black magic back to them or whatever it was. Okay, so that's creating another counter ripple effect, right? And so you could sit there and playing tennis with that person for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, okay? And it's always going to be the same situation until one of you decides to actually transmute that energy into something higher or something better. And you can immediately take yourself out of the game by saying, hey, I'm not going to play this tennis game with you anymore. I'm just going to like get rid of the ball, and I'm just going to do something else. And so that person, if they still want to play tennis, they're going to be playing with somebody else. They're going to be, you know, that's their game. They want to create those kinds of games. You can go play that with someone else, but it doesn't have to be you. So when we're talking about karma, sometimes the karma isn't over until the ripple effect is done. And so sometimes we have more control. We always have control over what we can do personally. I know that a lot of us might have family members who are very out of control or very reactive, that can try to use emotional blackmail or that kind of thing. And in many ways, that has probably backfired on a lot of people. Like, I'm not susceptible to that. If somebody tries to do any sort of emotional stuff, it doesn't work on me. So, so people can do those kinds of things. But if your intention wasn't directly meant to affect them in that way, and they're just choosing to randomly react that way, that's not your karma. Like, they can react however they want to react. But if your intention was clear and God-centered and God-aligned, and it was a good intention, their reaction is like they're playing their own little game over there. It has nothing to do with you. And whatever ripples they want to create out in the universe is going to affect them and come back to them. But as long as you stayed centered in your own creative power, whatever they're doing, it might affect you temporarily, but it's not going to last, because it's not based on anything real. It's not grounded into anything. And, you know, like I said, if those people want to continue to play tennis, they'll have to play tennis by themselves. If they're going to be shooting out those kinds of energy bombs at people, and you just don't want to be part of it. So that's their karmic stuff to deal with. The second that you take yourself out of the game, you don't have to play within that karma anymore, because you learned your lesson. You're like, I don't want to play that game. So you can do that at any point. And with us being here, I think a big reason why I'm still here is because there's that living hope inside of me that we all do make it to our heroic timeline, and that we can all ascend together, and that we actually live up to our angelic potential, which is absolutely beautiful. So yeah, that's kind of a slight update slash podcast. I don't know if this would be a podcast. It's basically galactic updates, karmic explanations, and yeah, I think, well, another update that I could give you is that there's a very big difference between the energy that where I'm at right now in Sedona versus energy on Kauai. So the energy on Kauai, everybody's really awake, and even if they don't know it, they are. And so, I mean, coming in here, I do notice that there's beings that try to have more control over the external circumstances out here, and it does feel a lot more peaceful for me. But there's also like a sleepiness that they've placed. There's like a sleepy net that they want to overlay over everybody so that they don't wake up too quickly, because it's happening. Okay, like that's what I mean. The negative EQ groups realize that awakening is happening. If there's no stopping it. Okay, the councils have decided to reset the field because y'all failed. Just kidding. But no, really, like that is what we're facing. They've decided to reset it. Not because they really wanted to, but because of the actions that a lot of the negative EQ groups have taken, that has actually caused the planet and this universe to start to do something that is irreversible. So it's happening, okay? So the ET groups are realizing this, and so they are kind of just trying to slow it down. That's all they can do. Well, I'm not saying that they can't do it. You can't do it. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to slow everybody with the key codes down. They're trying to slow down the collapsing of this system. They're trying to slow down the freeing of the beings that can actually be set free now, and that don't have to be in the system anymore, okay? They're trying to slow it down because as soon as certain beings leave, it really does become chaotic in here for them, for the ones that can't ascend out that way. It just becomes extremely chaotic and limited, because you just had a bunch of high-level, highly coded beings exit the matrix. And ideally, we would be able to rehabilitate and activate as many as possible in the heroic timelines, which is what we're still aiming for as long as, I'm in a body, and as long as many of the angelic souls that are still on the planet here have these bodies, we will continue to try to, activate humanity for the highest good of everyone. But that's pretty much what they're trying to do, is slow everything down. So if you notice that going from Kauai to here, there's a sleepy blanket, and the sleepiness is a lot higher here. I'm so sleepy all the time, and it's not just like my physical body feeling exhausted. It's like there is some sort of sleepy blanket that they're putting on people because they don't want you to wake up. Because why? When you're awake, you move and you take action and you do things. So it's like, what is the maybe least harmful thing we can do? Make everybody sleepy and slow down their progress. And I mean this in a conscious level. Everything that I say is multi-layered. Please take it as in as many contexts as possible. But generally, they're in like a good-hearted context. So just be aware of that. And I want to empower you to know that you can wake yourself up. Like the second you realize something is happening and you're not choosing it, just say no. You have no authority, and I'm free. I'm God, I'm sovereign, I'm free. And you can say your mantras, pull up your shield, do what you need to do, the things that you typically do to defend yourself and get yourself out of that reality. So I'm going to be having more classes, I think, more activations for people. If you're interested, send me a message. If you do get a reading, please send me a message on Instagram, because I have so many different systems and emails for these different things that sometimes I don't get them right away. So if you are waiting on a reading for me, please send me another message in case I haven't seen yours already. But I will get to it. And you can also sign up on my Linktree. I'm doing a conference in the middle of July. It's going to be in Florida, and I'm just part of the people who are helping to put it on. I'm not actually speaking, but there are a lot of really good speakers there. We have a lot of VIP stuff going on as well. And if you have any questions about anything that I just discussed, or if you are interested in this community that I'm building, where we are going to be talking about all of these different things, not just like updates, but like ways to actually activate your DNA and do this grid work, let's get together, let's collaborate, or let me know what you are thinking about all of this. And yeah, I'll make another podcast update for you pretty soon.
Until our paths cross again, may the stars illuminate your path, and may your journey be filled with love, light, and boundless cosmic wisdom. Thank you for joining me. I'm sending you lots of love and cosmic proportion hugs from your star family and the Council.